Hello there. It's Friday, 10 o'clock UK time. That must mean it's Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. Woohoo! Welcome. Yes, I am slightly mad, rattling around in my little art studio here in rural Derbyshire. I think it does send you a little bit strange. I've always been a bit strange, but yes. So welcome. I hope you're a bit strange as well. I think strange is good. As long as it doesn't hurt others, obviously. Yes, so Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. I'm going off on one, aren't I? Very excited because today we're going to be tuning in to fox wisdom. And I met this beautiful young fox, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Probably about 3 years ago, up the lane that I live on, here in Trussley in South Derbyshire, rural South Derbyshire, and we had a few moments together. He hadn't seen me coming and I hadn't seen him, and we regarded each other for probably only 4 or 5 seconds, and we both stood in absolute awe and completely still, looking at each other. And he was sat just as he is in my drawing. This is one of my little half-size prints of the actual the drawing that I created, and it was just magic. There's just something about every different species that is incredible, and when you have these wild encounters, as I'm fortunate to have, and I hope you do too, it just really does open you up, open your heart up, open up your awe and love and passion for nature and wildlife. So we had this 5 seconds, and then I think I breathed out, and just like that, he was gone in an instant, so fast and so agile. And that was the last time I'd seen a fox here, which is really sad to me, because we are living in, countryside that would have been, the natural home for foxes. And sadly, in our overpopulated human world, most foxes now are driven into towns and cities to scavenge, pretty much, for their survival and for their family survival. And so it's quite a rare thing to see them out in the countryside now, which is so sad. However, last week, whatever the day was, a few days ago, I was sat thinking, who is going to be coming forward for Weekly Wildlife Wisdom? And on that day, so actually no, that's a bit later, delete that bit. So I'd been sitting in my studio where I am now, looking out the window, and I saw a beautiful red fox come out of the little wooded area into the field where the cattle are, have a good old wander round, and then a few minutes later popped back into the wooded area. And of course I was thrilled and telling David all about it and getting all excited. And then, that's right, yesterday I was sat, get my days correct, yesterday I was sat thinking, not sure who it is that's asking to be in Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. And I was thinking back to the animals that I'd encountered this week, and we'd had a little blue tit flying through one of our windows into my art studio, and I'd helped them to leave, and that was very beautiful. And I was very glad that I was able to help them get back out into the wild quickly. We've also got a bit of a wasp infestation. Well, it's not really an infestation, it's more of we're not sure where they're coming in from, but they're in our bedroom to my right, and they are basically looking for places to hibernate, and so we're having to escort them out of the building on a regular basis. But it didn't feel like they had a message. And then I thought, and I did see that fox, didn't I, a few days ago? And literally, it was like my head was pulled up. I mean, it wasn't violent or anything, it was just a pulling up of my head. And as I looked across the field again, the same place I'd seen him or her, they popped out of the hedge literally at that second, and just sat looking at me for a couple of minutes, and then trotted back as one of the cows came over and was sort of trying to move them on. And so I knew today is fox wisdom. So that's the magic of nature and interconnection, and the fact that when we understand and open ourselves, open our hearts up, we are connected to everything. Whether it be an animal, be it a tree, be it a place, the land, the water, we're interconnected. We are part of the whole on this planet. And that's why their wisdom is so important, for us to remember who we really are, rather than who we've been taught and conditioned to be as a human being in this human created world that sadly seems to be getting further and further away from true connection with this middle way, the indigenous peoples would say, where we are an equal part of all around us. We're not superior, we don't have greater intelligence, we have difference, and all species have difference and are here for a unique purpose. So let's talk about foxes. Now, I look back through my well over a year now of Weekly Wildlife Wisdom hit on Instagram, and I did talk about foxes, but the last time I did it was about September last year. So I thought, well, clearly they want to have their message heard again. So I had a look at what I'd jotted down and put together today's Weekly Wildlife Wisdom, and I've also got a message from them in my book that I'm going to read to you. So my title was True Kenning. Now, those of you that have followed me for a while know that my ancestry is from the Scottish Highlands, and kenning is a word used by the Scottish folks in the Highlands. To ken is to know. It's not to read or to go on a course or to listen to someone else speaking and then say, oh, that's truth. It's actually the knowing that comes from when we absorb information from around us. We take it into our heart, we sit with it and we feel into it, and then we get a sense of what feels like truth for us, and that is kenning. And the animals, of course, are brilliant at this, and the fox in particular are amazing at this. Now, unfortunately, foxes have tended to be demonised, again, as many animals are, unfortunately, as being cunning or devious and untrustworthy. And again, I ask you to just wipe that out of your conditioned mind if it's there. Morning, Helen, lovely to have you here. Just wipe that out of your mind, or hold it to one side and just hear out the rest of the fox wisdom, because the truth about foxes is they show us this deep knowing and this ability to take into account all the information around us, whether it be physical and factual, or whether it be energetic and connecting into us from a higher place, a higher source. And they show us how to be this in our life, which in today's world, where we've got so much information coming at us from all angles, and goodness knows how much of it is just, blatantly untrue, misleading, manipulative, partly true, and then there's some truth out there that's being spoken. But we have to try and discern that for ourselves, and as an individual whose importance here on planet Earth is really, really key, one of the best things we can do is develop this ability, like the fox, who is the ultimate expert at being able to discern our own truth and adapt and flow to that, so that we stay true to what we ethically and morally feel is the middle way, that balanced way of leading a life that respects and honours all life, rather than just a particular view of life or a particular set of beliefs. Excuse me. So this is their key message to us, and I think this is what I think it was a vixen. I had a feeling she was female, but I obviously was nowhere near close enough to know, and even if I was close, I wouldn't know. But she felt feminine. I think that's what she was asking me to share with you today. So it's about this heart-centered feeling into things, intuiting things, following symbols and signs that appear in your life that may be guiding you in a particular direction, so that you can uncover and rediscover within yourself what truth is and how you then step forward on your path, whatever that looks like. You can be doing pretty much anything in your life as long as it's not willfully harming others as a consequence, and that is profoundly important and needed, because it's really about you, your energy, your influence on the world around you. And this is what the fox shows us, that we can use our ingeniousness, our heart-centered knowing to great positive effect in the world. But also on the flip side of that, I wanted to mention that foxes are brilliant at knowing when to become invisible. And sometimes it is appropriate for us to blend in and not be seen. We might find ourselves in circumstances where it's better for us to become the observer and to not be a big influence on what's unfolding in front of us. So, for example, when I'm out in nature and if I see a wild animal, I will, first thing that I do instinctively is just become small, pull my energy in, send out love, don't stare. You can look from the corner of your eye, but don't directly stare, because for many animals that's very threatening and they know that you can see them and so they can flee. And send out love, but in a way that says, I'm actually not really here physically, so you don't need to be afraid. But equally, I've used it in all sorts of different human encounters as well, where I've wanted to go into a place back in my corporate days where I'd like to just observe what's actually going on in a room rather than them knowing that I was there and being influenced by it. So I could do that, pulling my energy in, just a conscious thought to temporarily just close down my energy and pull it into myself. And all you have to do is imagine that, trust that that's happened, and know that as you do that, you will naturally become quieter, stiller, your body language will soften, your gaze will soften, so that you're not sending out strong energy into the people, the place, the animals, whoever around you. And that's something that foxes do brilliantly. And it's a part of their kenning, their knowing, is to know when to be visible and know when to be invisible, and to use that wisely dependent on the situation. So I think that's really, really important as well. And foxes, bless them, as so many of our beautiful wildlife on the planet, but I think foxes are a really good example of how they adapt and change to whatever is around them. They have had to, their food source, their natural food source in the wilderness has been very much affected negatively by the impact that we humans are having on the land, unfortunately. And it's really important that we look at the fox and say, well, it's not their fault that they've been driven into cities and towns. If they want to survive, when they need to eat and drink and they need to be able to raise their young effectively, they've had to, because the food supply is not there for them as it would have been, 20, 30 years ago, and long before that, obviously. So they teach us that we have to learn to be skillful at changing and adapting to what is coming around us. And it can also be about ourselves as a person. I'm getting on a bit now, and I'm feeling lots of changes within my physical body, which is affecting my mental body and my emotional body. And I'm having to learn to adapt to that. And sometimes I do better at that than others. Sometimes I'm resisting it. And the fox's message is change, adapt, change or adapt, or struggle. And struggle often brings with it pain, discomfort, turmoil, chaos. So it's a really, really powerful and relevant message, I think, in our today's human created existence, and what it is that the mainstream of humanity seem to be generating in greater quantity. So we have a lot to learn from these beautiful beings. They're also very resilient. So I read a lovely quote from one of my friends on Instagram this morning, and I can't quite remember all of it, so forgive me, but it was about even if you are only making teeny little steps forward and then you have to rest and step back or move away, do not ever put that down. Just support that and keep moving forward, even if it seems like it is very, very small steps. And I thought that was a really nice alignment with Fox wisdom as well. So I'm going to leave the messages from my tuning in with the foxes for now, and I'm going to read the message that the foxes gave to me many years back in my book, which is The Purpose of Species, and that was my old name, Julie Lyons, before I remarried and decided to shift to Jules as well. And you can get that on Amazon if you want. It's also on my website, but it's probably easier for you to get it and quicker if you go to Amazon if you're interested, where I've channeled 44 messages. They're not all from me. I had some guest channelers contribute messages, and one came through from the foxes, which I did receive the channel, and I'm going to read it to you now. Fox, sly, cunning, shifty, cold, killer, untrustworthy, trouble, tormentor. Descriptions humans often associate with our kind. Misinterpretation and fixed views cloud and distort your vision. Look again with eyes free of judgment. Look closely with free eyes. You will see an ever-changing, highly agile, fluid being of the lightest touch, fast and active, adaptive to whatever, whoever appears and creates around itself. All the folk tales, all the old wives' tales, hunting tales of how savage the fox is human-made distortion. What you see here, you can get stubbornly attached to, fixed in your perception. It's easy to point the finger at others and accuse them of the dark things your own species is doing with much less honour and reason. Fox cubs born, many in a litter, hungry mouths to feed, mother must provide, and she buries much to retrieve in stages, multiple kills with storage of the bulk for later use. Much is deemed human property that we need to survive. Much of our territory and natural stock of our diet has been stripped away for mass production. We search for our survival. Have you ever been labelled something you are not? Accused of being something you are not? It is very difficult to change humanity's views. Our message to you is short and swift. Release judgments that distort and hold no water. Revisit what you believe and check their validity. Learn to be fluid and adaptable like we are, and you will learn a great deal. Tolerance of all is essential. Understanding of truth is vital to our planet's survival. Family protection is core, relevant to all. Trusting again is key. What is it within yourself that you trust so little it causes you to doubt so much else, so many others around you? Love is the answer, and you know it's true. Someone amazing wrote. Very wise indeed. Live it, you must. Let go of the old. Travel in your soul. Explore the depths and shake out the old. Embrace the truth. Morph and flex as we do. So It's a pretty deep message, and you might want to re-listen to it again from Fox, because there's a lot in there, but it is a beautiful message, and I was so thrilled and honoured to see this beautiful fox, and I thank her and her kind for coming forward to ask for that to be shared, for their message to be shared. So I hope you enjoyed that. I've got one exciting announcement to make for next week's Weekly Wildlife Wisdom, which is Friday the 13th, which, again, another mistaken belief that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day. It isn't really, but it can be if we hold it to be true. Friday the 13th, 10 o'clock UK time, I've got a very special guest joining me for a co-live. I have mentioned it a few times, but it's next week, which is wonderful, and I can't wait. We've called it Celtic Connection, and we'll describe and explain a little bit more about that. And it is the wonderful Kate Ryder, who's an amazing author who lives down in Cornwall, and we're going to be having a conversation together and be asking each other some questions about our creative processes and how we came to connect, because we met here on Instagram, and exploring what we're both up to. So I'm really excited to do that next week with Kate, and I'd love it if you could join us live. But if you can't come live, don't worry, because as always the recording will be shared afterwards. So there you are. Hope you can join us then. I will send out messages as usual to confirm that, and with a link for a reminder, so watch out for that. Also, as usual, I always say, fingers crossed, health-wise permitting, that will go ahead, but if there is any change, I will let you know in advance of that. So I send you lots of love. Enjoy Fox Wisdom. Just give you a last little visual connection to beautiful Fox Wisdom. And I look forward very much to seeing you all next week for Weekly Wildlife Wisdom special with Kate Ryder. Lots of love. Take care. See you later. Bye.